Welcome back to the channel, guys. Now, or should I say welcome back to the classroom, because today we got Classroom of the Elite episode 5, and we got the introduction of a very important character moving forward in our series today that I'm very excited that she's finally here. A fan favorite character, to say the least. Now, she didn't do much in this episode, but she'll be very important later on. Let's just leave it at that for now. But Classroom of the Elite episode 5 today. We finally began the sports festival, and I will say, as I said in my last video, guys, I wanted to catch back up on the light novel. I have not finished volume 5 yet. I didn't go back through it completely yet, but I made sure to be up to this point. And I can tell you guys with certainty, they did skip stuff. Now, the stuff they skipped, I don't think is all that relevant, you know? Yes, it is kind of character development for some characters, kind of interactions and dialogue between some characters. Some events were switched around a little bit already. But overall, it does not really affect our arc that much. So I can understand why they would end up cutting it out. You know? And besides, we're here to talk about the anime, not the light novel. Yes, things are different. I want to preference that. Things are a bit different, again. But so far, I don't think they've butchered this season like season 1 just yet. Not quite, but they did cut some stuff out. I wanted to let you guys know that. So anyway, let's get in and talk about today's episode of Classroom of the Elite Season 2. So our episode today was pretty straightforward, actually. We had a little bit of time before the beginning of the sports festival, and then we went straight into the sports festival. Now, our episode begins with Ayanokoji explaining to Horikita why he believes Kushida was the traitor in the previous event. And he explains to her that, you know, only you and Haruta knew that she was the VIP. So if you and Haruta were the only ones that knew she was the VIP, how did that info get leaked? You know, how did Ryun find out who the VIP was? The only logical conclusion would be that it's Kushida. So that's why he wants them all to do some reconnaissance together. So we transition over to that, actually, and this scene did play out a little differently in the book. You know, we had a little more characters that showed up and all that, but like I said, stuff like this is not like huge changes, so it makes sense that they cut it out, because they want a clear and concise season, you know? Just because something works well in a book doesn't mean it works well in a show. So they cut out a bit of the fluff. And Horikita just gets straight to the point with Kushida. She tells her, like, alright, were you the traitor in the last event? Did you leak the information that you were the VIP? And of course, Kushida's like, huh? What are you talking about? And then Horikita just says, you know, doesn't matter. It's in the past. What I need to know now is, can I trust you? Can I trust you moving forward? Which, kinda, sorta. But she says, yes, you can trust me in this instance. And Horikita just leaves it at that for now, as they continue to watch the reconnaissance with the other classes to see how they're doing. And it's here that we transition to the sports festival. Now, the sports festival feels like it's going to be very much kind of like rushed through, you know? You can even tell in this episode that we don't linger on events too often, because there are a lot of events, guys. There are. So they are very clearly like trying to get through the less important ones, which is understandable. Like I said, because it's in a book, or works well in a book, doesn't mean it works well in a show. The sports festival could legit be like 4, 5, 6 episodes if they really adapted everything. So it's here we transition to there, and we meet a very, very important character for our series in the future, actually. Arisu Sakayanagi. Now, we don't get too much of her in this episode, so I won't talk too much about her. Just know that they didn't focus on her for no reason, guys. We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that for now until she becomes more relevant. But for now, just know, important character. So we transition into the events. In Class A and Class D, which are grouped up together, which I did forget to mention in my previous episode. I apologize. That the classes are grouped up together. Class A and D are together, and C and B are a group as well. Are actually doing quite well in the events. They are winning left and right at first, and the team morale is very high. But ever so slightly, as the competitions and the events keep going on, Class C keeps pushing Class D more and more. And it's all a part of Ryun's strategy. As Ayanokoji says it himself, his strategy in this event is to completely derail the morale of the other classes. What was the other one? Sorry about that, guys. Ryun's strategy is to overall lower the morale of the red team by pitting Class D and A apart with each other, by pitting the strongest people in those classes against the weaker members. So in Class D's case, to agitate Pseudo by constantly beating him up during the event and frustrating him, basically cheating, but they can't prove he's really cheating, so he's just trying to get him more frustrated and frustrated to where he takes it out on the weaker members of the group, and to push Horikita into a corner, to really put her at her lowest of lows. And we see that actually because in Horikita's event, she actually gets hurt. She gets hurt in her event, and her leg is hurt, and she can't really participate in too many more events now. And she is just sitting there kind of incredibly depressed. And Ayanokoji's telling all this to Kei, who actually calls him by his first name, Kiyotaka, which may not seem significant, but I brought it up for a reason. It's gonna be significant in the future, but just remember that. It's not too relevant now, but in the future, it will be. So Ayanokoji actually goes up to Horikita, and he's like, are you just gonna keep being useless forever, sitting here? Are you just gonna assume that everything that's been happening to you and to our class is a coincidence? You just gonna sit here and do nothing the whole time? Which is mega harsh, but this is literally just Ayanokoji as a character. This man is... he's basically pretty fucking cruel, honestly, but he knows how to get results. And he tells her, you need to go after Pseudo. You're potentially letting a weapon slip out of your grasp. If you want to lead this class, if you want to be the leader, you have to take advantage of every single situation and make weapons out of these people. Use him like I use you. That line is pretty important, actually. Again, incredibly harsh, but very true. So as she's going after Pseudo, she gets stopped by Kushida, who says, oh, the girl you crashed into when you got hurt, Horikita, actually is in really bad shape. You need to come to the office now. So she does, and who should be waiting there but Ryun, who claims that, how could you do something like this to her? She says you intentionally hurt her in that event, which we all know to be the other way around. But, of course, that's the little yarn he's spinning. Saying, and Horikita says, no, that's not true. What are you cooking up? What are you trying to do here? And he shows her leg, and her leg is pretty messed up, actually, which is messed up of him to do that to her. But he claims, she's going to tell the school on this, and we're going to have to go into court, which we all remember court from season 1 and all that. It's kind of intense, actually. And that would involve Horikita's brother, which she does not want to do no matter what. And Kushida intervenes and says, is there not some way that we can deal with this ourselves? And he's like, I think there is. Why don't you give me 1,000,000 points right here, right now? And that's an outrageous thing to ask, of course. That's his real goal in the whole thing, is to get 1,000,000 points from her. And she realizes that. And she refuses. And he says, all right, fine. we're just gonna go take this to court then. So of course she tries to backpedal and take it back, and he's like, all right, well now I need more than 1,000,000 points. I need you to grovel at my feet. I need you to beg for me not to do this. Which is very, very cruel to Horikita, I must say. Because she is such a proud person. And our episode ends, actually, with her meeting with her brother. For a brief, brief moment. A very brief, but very important scene, actually, for her. And when I say brief, guys, I do mean, like, really brief. Like, they're just passing each other in the hallway as she's leaving the nurse's office where Ryun threatened her. And she's hobbling, obviously, because she's hurt. And her brother doesn't even say a word, but he does stop. And in that brief moment, she tells him, I know that Class D is in last place right now because of Ryun's schemes, obviously, of tearing them down, which is absolutely working. Because Pseudo is gone, and MAI, basically, he's nowhere to be found. The morale could not be lower, and the classes are divided. She says, I know where we are right now, but don't worry, I won't do anything to embarrass you. And he walks off. And she says to herself, like, I'm not in any position to be around you right now, but the fact that you even stopped is enough for me in this moment. With her swearing that she knows what she has to do, which I do as well. But I want to circle back to something Ayanokoji said earlier in our episode, actually, that I should have mentioned with the K part, but I did forget. My apology, guys. She's asking him, like, hey, is there any chance that we can come back and win at this point? Because of Ryun's schemes, like, they had an early lead, but now their lead is gradually gone, and they are losing now. They are in last place. And Ayanokoji says, winning? I never intended to win in this event. My plan is for us to lose as spectacularly as possible so we can rally ourselves in the future. Now, I want to ask you guys a question. Why do you think Ayanokoji would do something like that? Why do you think he'd say something like that? I want to ask you guys in the comments. That's your question of the day. Why do you think he wants to lose this event? Yeah, it's maybe to rally them so they try harder in a future event, but why does he want to lose? And do you think they will end up losing? That's your question of the day. But yeah, guys, like I said, we had a pretty straightforward episode. We did have some cut content, but again, I don't think it was super relevant stuff. Like, nothing, like, super important, honestly, was cut. Like, little things here and there. And they could also just put it in later in the episodes, in our next couple episodes. They could just, like I said, they could just rearrange some stuff. While I don't love that, I don't think it's a death sentence to the series either, So try to be open-minded about that. But yeah, guys, like I said, we had a pretty good episode today, for our most part. The sports festival's underway, and things aren't looking too good for our red team. Can they come back around? We'll just have to wait and see. But until next time, guys, I hope you have a great day, week, month, and year. And remember, always smile and stay positive. I'll see you guys next time.